Oh, hi. What? Bro. There's always a lot of interest in custom brushes. My free brush set has over 400,000 downloads for a reason. But really, as an artist, you shouldn't need many at all. So in this week's episode of YouTube Art School, I'll show you the 10 brushes that I think every artist should have as a foundation for a good set. Learn to use those, and you will in a minute, and you should be able to paint anything. Oh snap, class is starting quick. Let's get to it. Alright, class is in session. Pay attention. Every good brush will normally have 2 or more ways to use it. So even if you had only 10, there will be many more ways to use each of them to get different results. That's what I considered for this video. I'll go through each of these MVP of brushes, or would that be MVB, and show you a few different ways to use them in your art. Of course, depending on what kind of art you prefer or your style, some might be more or less relevant to you, but I'm approaching this from the perspective of a concept artist / illustrator doing this kind of work. If that's you too, then pay attention. With the disclaimer out of the way, let's check out the first brush. Not the most exciting one of the bunch to start with, but definitely the most useful. The soft brush. The brush with 1,000 possible uses. Like in the last week's class about shading, you can use it paired with a lasso tool. You can use it to roughly shade silhouettes when the layer is locked and the alpha is the only paintable area. It's the first brush I'll always recommend to beginner artists trying digital art because it's so easy to get nice, smooth shading with it. It allows for easy gradients when you make the brush super large, like when painting a sky or something similar. And depending on your style, you can always texture it just a little bit, like this other one that I have here, to make things look a little less digital, since not everyone loves that super flawless shading. But yeah, you absolutely need a soft brush in your set. This one being probably the most obvious out of the bunch, so let's not spend too long on it and move on to the next one. And by the way, real quick, you can get my custom brush pack that contains many of the brushes that I'll feature in the class, most of them actually, for free with the link in the video description. Go grab it if you haven't already. Why not? The brushes are for Photoshop, but most of them will work just as well in Clip Studio Paint. And alright, the next brush is a cloud brush, or a smoke brush, I guess, depending. It makes painting skies so easy. I'll usually just paint this on a separate layer, lock the layer, and then you can add some nice colors in there, or shadows maybe with a soft brush like the one I was just using. And then for smoke effect, it's the same idea. You just gotta use some dark grays instead, and boom! Now maybe something's on fire. The next brush you should have in your set is a LINEART brush. Of course, you've seen me use this one a million times. It's my go-to when drawing digitally. It's got character, the edges are a little rough, and I think it looks very natural. It's obviously great to mimic real pencils, but I also use it scaled up to add dirt to surfaces or like subtle weathering. Check this out. Ooh, oh, that looks tasty. And by the way, I've actually recreated this one to work identically in Clip Studio Paint because it was a little bit different. But yeah, check the description. There's a link for that one as well. And it's free. All right, the fourth brush is one of my all-time favorite when painting, my legendary square brush. That's actually where the name Q-brush came from. It's just a square with a bit of texture really, but this is the brush that I use for the majority of these paintings here. I love the fact that it's got hard edges, or hard-ish edges, because when it's blended properly, it almost feels like real paint. The main reason why it's not just round instead is, once again, to get away from the digital look. The corners add a bit of unpredictability to the brush strokes, and often, I'll shade with a soft brush to get a really quick preview of the shading that I want, and then I'll do a second pass over it, just color picking the local colors and painting over to get the visible brush strokes look that feels more traditional, kinda. Looks nice, right? Totally. And this brush is probably the one that I use the most in my demos within my art program. I've used it for close to 2 decades now. And of course, can't fail to mention that you can get my art school program at a huge discount till the end of the month only. There's not a lot of time left, so don't miss out. Check the link for it in the video description if you've been looking for the best possible structure in your art studies. It comes with around 100 hours of classes, a detailed week-by-week study guide to tell you exactly what to do every week, an awesome Discord community to share your progress with, and just a crazy amount of value for the price. And I'm continuously adding to it. Don't miss out, check the link down below. All right, back to brushes. The next one is for grass/fur textures. It's this shape here that right away you could probably use, to paint blades of grass quickly in your environment, but it really shines when used as a mixer brush. The mixer brush is a Photoshop only tool, unfortunately, I think, and it's one of those things that almost make Photoshop worth the subscription price. Almost. It allows you to select an image to quote-unquote color pick instead of a flat color like you would normally paint with. And while painting with an image means I can do stuff like this, picking this region here and using it to paint with, keeping all the colors within it so that my grass is shaded already. It's like magic. And in the same way, I can turn this soft shading into like a furry texture easily using the same brush. The mixer brush is just so much fun. So many possibilities with it. The sixth must-have brush is let's call it a pastel brush, a brush with very rough edges for a lot of texture. When I paint, this one will be another staple tool I'll always be going back to. If I zoom in here, you can see that's the brush that I used everywhere. I love using it for shading, especially when the subject needs to be more organic, like with a rough surface. This specific brush is also the main brush I use paired with the mixer brush again. Almost looks like real paint if you squint. This square brush that we looked at is great for smoother surfaces, but this one is king for anything that isn't. Check this out. So easy to get texture in there. I actually have a few different pastel/texture brushes. Another one I like is this one here. The unique thing about this variant, I guess, is the random colors that it mixes in with each brush stroke. Again, like real pigment, like a real paint on a brush. Sometimes, the different colors aren't perfectly mixed and you get a bunch of different colors visible when you look more closely. This tries to mimic that effect to some degree. But yeah, onto the seventh brush, and the rest will go a lot faster. The shading brush. So I've showed you guys this one last week briefly. Again, it's a brush with one side that's hard and the other that's soft. I also have a few variants of this one, all included in my advanced brush set. I call it a shading brush, but it's something I'll use for a variety of situations, like adding skin folds in fabric, creating like quick tubes, or adding a bit of shadow here and there with just a few brush strokes. It's a little hard to get used to at first because you have to be mindful of the direction of the brush stroke, but you get used to it quickly and then you just can't live without it. Facts. The next brush is a simple spray brush. The one I use the most looks like this. That's going to be a very useful one to add particles in the air. I also use it as a way to make things look dirty when the brush is scaled up, or if something is kicking up a lot of dust or sand, that works great for that. All of this texture here with just a few brush strokes, very useful. The next one is going to be the RAKE brush. Another one that I've had in my set for about 20 years now. This might seem too specific at first, but there are actually a lot of ways to use it for different effects. You can use it for hair to get some details in there, to give fabrics some textures, maybe use it as a grid pattern, a rough reflection for a particular surface. There are so many uses. This one also works super well as a mixer brush to create the illusion of detail for environments maybe, or just cool details on all kinds of surfaces. Oh, don't sleep on the RAKE brush. And then the last brush I think everyone needs is a good smudge brush. I only have two that I use for everything. This one I use very rarely, but it has a nice textured effect. I'll typically use it for skin when I don't want the skin to look too shiny. But my main smudge brush I'll use for almost everything, to soften out brush strokes, mix colors together a little bit, smudge stuff, I'll pair it with almost any of the other brushes that I mentioned today to give them a more natural look. Basically, the more detailed the brush is, the more likely I'll use the smudge brush with it. Like here, just blurring out the details of the brush a little bit to make it look more natural. Looks a lot better, I think, since we can't see the brush stamp as clearly. And all my brushes, except some very specific ones, are variants of these. I think it's way better to have just a few tools that and can use very well, rather than a library of like 5 bajillion brushes that you almost never use. It just makes the workflow a lot faster. And like I said, you can grab most of these for free as part of my free brush pack, so give those a shot, maybe. But yeah, that's going to be it for this week's class. I hope that was helpful. Let me know in the comments. As usual, I read them all. And slap that notification bell to be on time for next week's class, and maybe I won't have to call your mom again. Oh, and make sure that you check out my art program.